guys, I'm here with a 6x8 layout today, working with the January kits from Kitaholic. I'm using a pattern paper for my background from the kit, and I've also got this chipboard piece, which is beautiful, haha, literally and figuratively. And I'm going to use these gorgeous die cuts from Jen Hadfield. I absolutely love the colours in this. There's pink and mint and like a coral colour. They're so beautiful. So I've grabbed out of my stash a couple of shimmers, and I'm going to use those to make a bit of a mixed media background to really help those guys sort of stand out and feel extra lovely and pretty to show them off, because I love them. So I'm messily laying down a bit of gesso, and that's where I'm going to put my mixed media. So the gesso is not just there to protect the page, it also becomes part of the sort of decorative element of the page. While that's drying, I'm going to emboss this chipboard piece. So I'm going to just squish it onto my embossing pad. I didn't realize, of course, these things are laser cut, which means there's a little bit of like residue on it, which has coloured my ink pad. So that's something worth being aware of. It was silly on my part not to realise that would happen, but it should be fine. So I'm going to put some white embossing powder on top of that, and I'm going to hold it with my tweezers. I made the rookie mistake of putting this on my desk, and then I got embossing powder on my desk, and it stuck to every other project I did in the next few days, which was super annoying. So pro tip, don't put it on your desk. That's just silly. So yeah, I'm going to dry that, not dry it. What's the word? Activate it, I guess, with my heat tool. And you can see that kind of witchcraft happening there as it goes from a powder to this lovely glossy embossed finish, which I just think looks so cool. I love it. I'm obsessed with embossing. I always forget that embossing is a thing, and then it comes up again in December daily, and I'm like, oh, that's right. This is really fun. And then I do it on everything for a little while, and then I forget about it again. I love that. So yeah, I'm just going to, these are the two main elements that are going on my page, along with the die cuts. So I've activated my little shimmers things. I'm still a bit of a rookie with these guys. You're supposed to activate them with water, and then they sort of soften up the same way that watercolors do when they're in half pans. But these guys, I had a bit of trouble getting enough sort of pigment out of them, and it's possibly just because they're really light colors, because when you look at them in real life, there is a lot of shimmer on the page once it dries, but not a heap of like colored pigment. So it doesn't matter, because this is just the background, and it's kind of not the point of the layout. The point of the layout is to play with these items from the kit. But yeah, if anyone's got any shimmers tips for me, I've been watching Missy Whidden's videos, and she uses them religiously, and she makes it look very easy. And it's not as easy as it looks, I don't think. Anyway, so I'm just playing with these two colours, because these are colours that are in the die cuts. So I've put a bit on, I'm going to let them dry, and as I do, I'm just going to go through and look at some of the pieces that I think I might like to use. Then I'm going to add some more. Whenever you're doing mixed media, there's always that kind of process of waiting for things to dry and layering and all that kind of stuff. Well, not always, but usually. So I just keep myself busy by sort of fiddling with the other things that I'm going to be playing with on the layout and things like that. So there's a little bit of jumping around as things take their natural course. So yeah, adding a bit more here and there. I don't want to blend these two colours, because they're both secondary colours, green and orange. They'll go muddy if they blend. So you can mix primary colours pretty happily, but obviously secondary colours, they're not meant to blend. So I'm sort of keeping them in separate spots on the page. And here I am again waiting for it to dry and just pottering around with the die cuts again. Look how beautiful they are. I think I've said this in a video already, but I really love true pink and coral together. I think they look so good, and I think that minty green really complements them. They're just so pretty. I'm obsessed. I'm glad it's such a big packet, because I'm going to want to use these on a lot of layouts. So yeah, still fiddling around with this background. It looks a little bit messy and haphazard, but what I'm going for is just having bits of colour that will then poke out from behind the clusters and things that I'm going to create as I go along. So bear with me. So I've got a bit more of this gesso here, and I've mixed some water with it so that I can create some splatters to, again, give it a bit more of a messy look. So first I'm going in and just like shaking my brush at it, and then I'm loading my brush up with a fair bit of the paint and then squeezing it to create bigger droplets. Now these of course take ages to dry, so I'm just sort of, because there's heaps of water in it, so I'm just sort of going over it with a bit of paper towel to sort of soak up a little bit of it so that it doesn't take quite as long to dry. But I did do this and then wander off and play with Artie for a little while it dried. Oh yeah, I'm just showing you how messy my hands got while I was doing that. Yeah, so I went and hung out with Artie for a while and let this do its thing so I wouldn't fiddle with it too much while it was drying. And also because he's my kiddo and I love hanging out with him. I tried to add some splatters with the shimmers, but that didn't work. So I grabbed my Colour Shine in Seafoam, which is a very similar colour to that green. And I'm splattering it on there. The green I'm using, I can't remember the name of the green one, but the coral one is called Sand of a Beach, which I find highly amusing. So I'm backing this photo in with a little bit of, tissue paper, but I haven't realised that I put the tissue paper into that pile of paint that I just put on my desk, and I'm actually spreading it everywhere without realising it. And I got it on my hands and I got it on some of the die cuts. And this is me realising that that was there. So, you know, mixed media is messy. You just have to go with it. So yeah, I'm going with that. And now that's backed on that. You can tell I've been watching Missy Whidden because that's a very Missy move, putting tissue paper behind a photo. I mean, I've done it too from time to time, but mixed media and tissue paper is totally Missy. Yeah, so now I want to put in some flowers behind my photo and create like a frame around it. So I'm going to play with those. I'm sort of putting them in place now, and they look reasonably one-dimensional. Two-dimensional? Not three-dimensional is the point I'm trying to make. But when I put the whole thing together, I'm going to add a little bit more layering to give it a bit more depth. But this is just me getting the placement right before I do that. And I have no trouble chopping up my die cuts. You should definitely do that. If you have one that doesn't quite fit right, cut it up, because using it is better than waiting for the perfect shape. So there I go, cutting a big one just totally in half, and that's fine. And I'll save the other half and it'll get put on another layout, and that will be good. I'm trying to mix up some textures here. So I've got some of the bigger flowers, some medium ones, and then some that are a slightly different shape. And I'm adding in leaves and things to try and kind of give it a bit of a wild and natural look, because it is floral and botanical. Now I have a piece of cardboard. This is just scrap from some packaging, and I'm using that in the same way that some people might use craft foam, but this is my method of choice for this. I'm only putting the tape down the middle because I want to be able to tuck embellishments in around the edges. So I want some to go under the card and some to go on top of it, and that's how I'll create my depth using these embellishments. So I'm just going to chop the corner out of this because I feel like I can probably still use that flower later on if I want to, or on another layout. And I'm going to go around and adhere these now. And some are going to go, like I say, on top of the card, and some are going to go underneath, and I'm going to alternate them. So hopefully you'll see as I go how that works. So the ones that are going on the cardboard, I'm just sticking down with washi tape. And the ones that I'm tucking between the card and the photo, I'm just adhering with some craft glue, because you can't get the tape in between them as easily. And this works fine, especially when you've got it in a fine line bottle and you can get the nozzle right in there, and it's that's the easiest way to do that. So you can see how that layering is happening now, and it just makes the whole thing look a bit more dynamic and feel a bit more alive. So I'm just going to go around and do that. And you can see now how the background, the messiness of it doesn't matter, because basically it's achieving what I wanted, which was little bits of colour and splatters kind of poking out from the edges. And it's that big expanse in the middle is totally covered up. So it doesn't matter that was as messy as it was, because it's just got that those little bits that you can see. So just continuing to tuck those guys in and around there. I'm loving the kit this month. I've made a couple of Project Life pages with it so far, and I'm doing this one, and I'm hoping to do a traveler's notebook layout or another 6x8 with it as well. But I'm going to have heaps left over. There's heaps of gorgeous stuff in there, so it's all going to go back into my stash to be used and loved. I'm gonna put a bit more glue in there, stick that guy in. I love this photo of Artie and Percy. Every morning when I wake up, he's always up well before me, but my alarm goes off and he hears it from his room because it's right next to ours, and he just comes in and snuggles with me. And usually Percy wants to snuggle too. And so we have lots of early morning cuddles, and they always end up with photos like this because, yeah, who can resist taking a picture of that gorgeous child? So this is my title coming back, and because I've backed my photo, that's elevated up off the page a bit, and the title is going to go on top of that, but I need to just give the side of the title that isn't propped up on the picture the same height. So I'm just carefully trimming a little bit of the same cardboard and just sticking it to the back so that it's the same height. Hopefully that made sense. I'll glue this guy down. And I've put the glue on the back of the embellishments as well as the photo so that everything's very well adhered and that's not going anywhere. The paper just needs a little bit of straightening out. It's never going to sit perfectly flat because it's a mixed media page, and that doesn't bother me at all. I know some people really don't like it when their pages curl, but to me it's part of what makes it a fun and artistic page, and it's fine, so I'm not bothered by that. So yeah, sticking that down, and now it's sort of all propped up at the right height, and I love that. These stickers also came with the kit, and I'm obsessed with them. They're from Freckled Fawn, who is one of my favorite crafty brands. I absolutely love them. And so I'm just going to use some of these hearts because they're just the right colour. I'm going to use some of the darker, is it a minty kind of green? Would you call that mint? I would call that mint. So both of those, the darker and the lighter mints, I'm going to put some of those on there, and they add shine because they're that epoxy finish, but also just a different size. They're significantly smaller than the flowers, but bigger than the droplets of the splattering. So they sort of cover that middle ground, which is pleasing to me. I did some journaling, and I did it on three strips of journaling because I wasn't sure how much space I wanted to take up on the page. So I did the first line, which could be fine on its own, and then I added a couple more lines which I could sort of add to it if I wanted to. In the end, I just went with one line because I felt like when I added the other two, they got a bit too close to the bottom of the layout and made it feel a little bit enclosed, which I didn't like. But that's fine. Oh, here's one of the die cuts that I accidentally got paint on, and because it's going on an area of the page that already looks quite painty, it actually looked quite good. So I was able to use that, and that was very pleasing. Just to fill out a little bit around those epoxy pieces that I added, the hearts, I'm just going to add a couple of puffy stickers. These didn't come in the kit. These are just from my stash, but I just wanted to add a little bit more, and I didn't want to put more splatters on in case I wrecked it. So this is like a kind of splatter alternative, I guess. And here I am just double checking that I don't want to put those lines on there, and I don't. So, yep, that is pretty much finished. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. I really hope you liked this one. I love it. I love the softness of the colours, and I'm super into this kit. So make sure you check out Kitaholic Kits. I'll link them below, and like and subscribe while you're here. And don't forget to check me out on Patreon if you'd like to see some extra videos and get your hands on some other goodies as well. And I'll see you again really soon. Bye!